Today's episode is going to be a little bit different. I am going to share something very personal with you. And I decided to do this because I feel that my journey and what I'm experiencing now and what I'm going to be experiencing in the next few weeks might be helpful to some of you who find yourself in maybe similar circumstances, not the same ones, but similar circumstances. And I'm going to start with sharing my body scan with you. I know, funny place to start, but stay with me. I'm going someplace with this. So in March, I had an in body scan at my nurse practitioner's office as part of my routine visit where we run blood work. We go through different things such as my hormones, the thyroid function, cholesterol, things such as that. And then we met again. It was just this past Monday. So as I'm recording this, it is, what date is it? It's June 12th. It was just a couple of days ago. You'll be hearing this on June 17th. She ran another body scan and then we compared it to the one in March. And this is what we found. Weight was roughly the same. I was up zero point 0.7 pounds. That could be anything, water, whatever. But my skeletal muscle went up 2.6 pounds, and this is since March, and really primarily in my lower body and my legs, which for me is amazing. And I'll explain why in a moment. My body fat went down 3.3%. Now the body fat wasn't high on the last one that I did. It was more of a normal fitness level, and this is more of an athletic fitness level that the body fat went down to. So we were talking about this, and my nurse practitioner, Melissa, said, this would be really good to share on a podcast, showing people what's possible. So, first of all, my putting on the muscle in my lower body as I did was incredible because I've been dealing with back problems for the last year. So, if you've been in my community a while, you've listened to this podcast a while, you will know that I injured my back about 8 years ago and have had trouble off and on ever since. Had another injury in, let me see, when was it? 2019, I believe, and then I began having trouble about a year ago. Now, the first two times that I injured my back, it was so bad that I couldn't walk. Like walking was impossible. There was a burning, searing nerve pain down the left leg that started in my hip and went down the front of my leg, not the back of my leg. So it wasn't technically sciatica, which runs down the back, but it was a radicular pain, meaning that it's radiating down from L3, L4, L4, L5 are the discs that were giving me the issues. So, in any event, with both of those injuries in 2016 and then again in 2019, I couldn't walk. The first time was profoundly bad. And I did months and months of physical therapy that first time, and it took me months to walk without pain. But the pain never totally went away. So if I would move just the wrong way or do something in yoga or pick something up or whatever it was, sleep on the wrong side of the bed, whatever it was, I would have the nerve pain back. Not as bad as I had before, but I would have it back. So then about a year ago, it was in July of last year, this is really embarrassing. I think I might have shared it on a past podcast, but I'll share it again. I had these ridiculous shoes that were the little thong and a platform, but had no strap on them. Really cute Coach shoes, loved them. And I had lotioned up my feet, so they were just a little bit slick. And I had noticed problems before with my foot kind of slipping off, but I don't know, I didn't take it very seriously. And I was walking in the driveway. My son was getting into the car. We were all going to go to dinner. And my strap broke on the left shoe. And when it did, my foot rolled over to the side and caused me, it was so high up on that platform that I went backward. I just lost my balance and went backward and wound up breaking a toe and spraining a shoulder. And I didn't notice right away, but about a week after that fall, my back began to bother me and quite a bit. But this time was different. I never got where I couldn't walk, but I did get that burning pain. And it would kind of subside, come back, subside, come back. Now, part of it is I knew what to do and not to do. I'd been through this circumstance before. So right away, I was proactive with what I was doing in the gym. I didn't stop going to the gym, but I began to modify, and I modified my lower body. And as the year went forward, more and more things had to be taken off the plate, just things I could no longer do, or if I did them, they had to be very lightweight. So I got very creative in the gym, did a lot of single leg things, a lot of lunges, a lot of step ups, various types of squats that didn't load my spine, and just really tried to work around it the best that I could. So the fact that since March, the muscle has gone up and not down absolutely thrills me. And it not just because of health reasons, wanting to be as strong as I can and have that muscle, that armor, that protective armor around me, but also because I'm facing a challenge next week. So on it was supposed to be on Monday, but the date's been changed. It'll be on Wednesday, the June 19th. I'll be going into surgery. I'll be flying from Albuquerque, New Mexico to Phoenix and then going to Gilbert, Arizona, where I will be staying in an Airbnb for a week with my husband. My oldest daughter is flying out to help with the cooking and the care, and I'm having a spinal surgery. Now, I have not shared this with a lot of people, and there are reasons for it. I haven't wanted people's opinions because I needed to make this decision myself. And I I give the same advice to you. If you have a decision that's a big one and you're wavering and there's pros and there's cons and you're going back and forth, don't consult with too many people. Keep it tight. Only consult with the people closest to you, like perhaps your significant other, your spouse, a best friend that you know they're not going to go down rabbit holes, but they're actually going to support you in your decision. They're not going to make the decision for you, but they're going to support you. Get as much information as you can, whatever that decision is. So this has gone on, like I said, for 8 years. And for 8 years, I can honestly say I've never been completely out of pain. I've been able to bring down the back pain and the leg pain to say a 2 from time to time. But this past year, I mean, as I sit recording this, if I was standing, it would be the same thing. I feel that leg, I feel that pain. If I sit too long, stand too long, walk too long, I've given up hiking. My world has become narrower, and this happens with injuries. You start to throw things off the bus just trying to get through it. Now, I'm very good at staying positive and modifying, and then when I throw an exercise out, I don't stop there. I replace it with something else that I can do. So I find some other version. For instance, using a lot of machines because it holds me in a stable position and I can quiet my back. So I've done all of these modifications, but I'm now not able to do some of the things that I've enjoyed, like snowshoeing in the winter or uh, going hiking. I'm probably done with any sort of backpacking because I don't want to risk any other further injuries. But I made this decision because there is a slippage at L3, L4. There's a fancy word for it that when I try to say it, never comes out of my mouth right, so I'm not going to say that word. Anyway, at the L3, L4, it's moving. So when I move, those discs are moving. And when they're moving, it is irritating the nerve and I'm getting that constant pain. And the other thing is I'm living in fear of having another episode where I can't walk because when I have those, the pain is off the charts. I can't manage it. No type of medication will help me. No type of rest seems to help it. It's just like a time thing. And I usually wind up getting spinal injections, which I've had several times to bring the inflammation down, and that's not optimal either. So I consulted with a neurospecialist, a neurosurgeon in Gilbert that came highly recommended to me. We flew out, we had a consultation, and we talked about what could be done. He's going to do a minimally invasive a fusion. So it is a spinal fusion, but it's minimally invasive. Now, It's invasive in the sense that you have general anesthesia, they're making incisions, you're in the hospital overnight. So yes, it's invasive, but not as invasive as a full fusion. He's also not fusing the discs all the way down to L5. And he even said a lot of surgeons would want to fuse you from L3 all the way to L5. He says, I don't see that that's necessary. So he's only going to do the one level L4. That's it. He's not fusing multiple areas. It's two small incisions, and he's only going to treat the left side because I have no pain on my right side, or minimal. Once in a great while, I'll get a little shooting pain or some muscle tightness, but not like the nerve pain that I get down the left leg. So that is the crux of it, and I did not take making this decision lightly. I don't know the outcome. Of course, when I'm ready, I will share the outcome. I will share my recovery. But I shared the results of my body scan because I wanted to encourage you that number one, it can be done. I'm 62 years old with a bad back, getting ready. I say that kind of loosely, bad back, but back problems would probably be better. And I'm able to do it. And I am not, obviously, I cannot lift heavy, heavy load on my lower body. And I am somehow doing this by being very consistent and very focused and very intentional. I'm not just hitting the gym and walking around and choosing a machine and going here and there. I'm being very intentional. If something hurts in a way it's not supposed to hurt, I'm taking that off the table and I move on to something else and replace it with something else. But I want to encourage you, just because you have had an injury or maybe you've had an ongoing chronic pain problem such as what I've had, there is hope. And I'm not encouraging you to go get surgery. I'm just saying there's hope with what you can do with the right types of modifications and workouts in the gym. And yes, you can get results without doing a heavy, heavy back squat. I'm seeing a lot of this on Instagram right now, and I'm not saying it's wrong. And for some people, it's appropriate. But there's a big push for women to lift heavy who are, well, all women really, but especially for women over 50. And now I agree, you have to lift in a way that forces an adaptation because that's how the muscle develops and grows. So if you dance around the room with 1 pound pink dumbbells, unless you're brand new to fitness and that's the first thing you've done in forever, you're really not going to get much of a response with your body. It's like trying to dig this big hole with a tiny spoon as opposed to a shovel or a backhoe. So yes, lifting heavy has a place, but there are many, many ways to stimulate a muscle response and adaptation. You really are you're putting, for lack of a better word, I don't want to use strain, but you're stimulating the muscle in such a way that it needs to recover. So as you're sleeping on your days off, that muscle group is recovering. As it's recovering, it's growing bigger and stronger. That's the adaptation in response to what you're going to do in the future at the gym. You're forcing that response. So hopefully that made sense. It can be a little confusing to explain. So there are more than one way to produce a muscle stimulus. And I've spoken about these on here in past episodes. Um, if you go back, if I have time before I leave for my surgery, I will try to find an episode and link it in the show notes. May not have time, so you may have to scroll through. But what I've talked about in the past is that you can play with the sets, more reps, that's more volume, time under tension. You can play with the range of motion in such a way where you're cutting out some of the rest you would get at the top of the range of motion and the bottom of the range of motion. So it's more of almost like a pulsing in a sense, where you're just keeping that constant tension on the muscle group and you're not releasing that. You can decrease rest times. So there's more than one way. And yes, I am a proponent of lifting heavy enough to produce a stimulus. But if you have joint issues, if you have some bad genetics in there, and some people do, part of my issue is genetic. Part of it's age, part of it's genetics, part of it's what I've been doing for years and years for activities. But if you have an issue that doesn't allow you to overload the bar, then you're going to have to make modifications. And I work with so many women, they're primarily over 45, the group that I work with, mostly over 50 and 60. And they will tell me, I've got this elbow that constantly wants to get aggravated, or this shoulder, or I've got some back issues, I've got degenerative disc disease, or whatever they'll tell me. And we will work to find movements that are feasible for them. And yes, I want to see women's strength training. I mean, I will sing that all day long, that, that I am the biggest proponent of strength training for women, especially when they hit that perimenopausal and menopausal window, because you lose muscle so quickly. You lose strength and power in your body. You lose bone density. You need to do things to be proactive there. So, yes, but we have to be smart about it and we have to be realistic. I just did a great interview with a physiotherapist that is going to air probably in the next couple of weeks. And we talked about this bioindividuality of people, and how what can be really appropriate for one person is not going to work for another. For instance, some people are hypermobile, meaning that they're loosey, they're bendy. And yeah, that sounds great. And it's great in the yoga room, but they also have a tendency to get injured because the range of motion is almost too broad. And they get into a trouble zone there, into the red zone. Some people are very, very tight. And so you got to think about the exercises that you're doing for your body, instead of trying to force your body to do what everyone's doing on Instagram. So that's something I wanted to talk about today, because I do see that a lot. And I maybe you could squat without pain and you can load that bar, and power to you if you can. I wish I could. I can't. Deadlifting, can't do it right now. But I don't know that I'll even do it in the future, because I really don't want to go down this path again. But when I deadlift, that L3, L4, it's moving, and I get profound pain usually by that evening and into the next day, and it's no fun. So suggesting that every woman deadlift, every woman squat, every woman barbell squat, there are several different things to do instead of deadlifting. There are several ways to do a squat. You can do it with dumbbells, you can do it with cables, you can do it with bands, you can do it body weight. There's several different ways. So there's other options for you. There's single leg squats in the form of like a stationary lunge. So I want to encourage you here. And then I really just wanted to share this journey for you, because this has not been an easy decision for me. I am a proponent of avoiding surgery if you can. I do believe try every single thing you can that is more on the quote unquote natural side of things before you go for spinal injections, before you go for a surgery or procedure of some kind. Do what you can. Don't just run and get MRIs and run and set up surgeries. Do what you can, and there's a lot you can do. So that I'm excited to have these results in front of me that are so encouraging, because I feel like I'm going into the surgery from a good place. My body is strong. I'm at a good body fat percentage, not too low, not too high, nice fitness level. My heart feels strong. My core feels strong. I've been having physical therapy for some months now with a wonderful physical therapist. I've been having some dry needling techniques. He's worked on me with some core work. So I've done everything I can leading up to this. And I hope that what I am sharing with you today is indeed helpful. This is going to be a little bit of a shorter podcast, but I just want to touch on, with the remaining moments that we have, how important it is to find a coach, a trainer, a physical therapist, a physiologist who treats you as an individual and does not give you blanket advice that might not be good for you. And then learning to deal with your genetics, learning to deal with maybe some past injuries and aches and pains. Now, I don't mean putting up with the pain, that's not what I mean, but I mean adjusting how you move, the type of exercise you choose, the frequency of it to align with your body. I'm going to give you a for instance. When I was working with individuals as a personal trainer, I love machines for a number of reasons. Sometimes you can load more with a machine than you could with, say, the dumbbells or the barbells. It can keep you in a static position. So if you're dealing with something like your back, it can be helpful to have that stability of a machine and have that control. It can be very good for beginners if they learn how to use the machine properly. Sometimes people aren't ready for dumbbells. Dumbbells take a lot of stability. Sometimes people aren't ready for a barbell that can take a lot of strength. They're just not there yet. So finding some things that work for you, the cable machines are wonderful. But here's my but. I remember taking a woman on a leg press, and no matter how we adjusted the leg press, her feet wouldn't reach the platform. She was so tiny. She was so short, and those legs were so short. She did not have long legs at all. Short arms, short legs. Many of those machines would not work for her, especially for the lower body. So, it's interesting being a personal trainer and you've got this plan in your head and you walk them over to the machine and you're like, oh, that's not going to work. Another time I had a woman, she was very obese. She couldn't fit into the machine. We were actually trying to just do a bicep curl, but the way the machine was situated in the seat, we couldn't bring it back far enough that she could fit in there. Very embarrassing for her. So finding a trainer that looks at you as an individual and doesn't try to do things with your body that you're either not ready to do, you might be ready in the future to do, or they're not taking into account how you're built, your stage of life, your age. And I'm not saying because of your age you have to do an easy workout. You do not. You can do a challenging workout, but you might have to modify. And this is really what aging is about. In your 50s, you modify some of the things you did in your 40s. In your 60s, where I'm at now at 62, I'm modifying some of the things I did in my 50s that just aren't working for me, especially with my lower back. And I'm sure I will reassess as I move towards 70. And instead of looking at that like, oh no, I'm losing everything, there is no hope, there's no way I can get strong or build, muscle tone or definition because I've got this problem and this problem and this problem. Let's look at this a little bit differently. Let's reframe it. Let's try to find actual solutions. Try to work with somebody, a physiotherapist, a personal trainer, a health coach who can move you toward those changes and modifications. So that is going to be it. I know that was a super short one, but I feel like I said what I wanted to say. Next week, I will have a guest on. I don't have the schedule in front of me. It is either, there's two guests coming up. There's a physiotherapist, which I'm very excited about. And then there's also a mother-daughter team. The mom is from France, and they are very big in the health space. And I'm excited for you to meet them as well. So those are coming up. Um, I will continue to I always batch produce my podcast. So while I am recovering, the podcast will continue on. I don't want to have any lapses in that. I'm going to put up a link into these notes as far as a couple of free resources that I have. If you are not on my email list, it is the best way to find out what's going on, my latest programs. I'm working on a membership behind the scenes. So if you are interested in that fitness membership, details will be coming. I just need to get on the other side of this surgery. So if you sign up for one of these free resources that will be in the show notes, you will be added to my email list. And then as always, you can unsubscribe if you don't like it, if it's not your thing, if I'm not your thing. no big deal. You unsubscribe. So I'll encourage you to sign up for those. There's also a link to my book, Finding Purpose in the Pause, Your Guide to Thriving in Menopause and Beyond. So a few ways to connect with me, and I'm very active on Instagram. Until next time, I wish you every blessing, and whatever you're dealing with, if you're dealing with something like I am, would love to hear from you, and I would love to encourage you. And until next time, bye for now.